Hey, how's it going, guys? Austin Slabough here with another episode of Visiting Professionals, and today I'm visiting with ONTV's very own studio manager, Joe Johnson.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for coming out.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me. Stay tuned, guys. We got a lot of great stuff coming up.
Hi, my name is Austin Slabough. I'm a student at Open University. Most of my time is spent on campus in class, but when I'm not hitting the books, I'm visiting professionals. Today on Visiting Professionals, I took a trip to meet with the studio manager of Orion Neighborhood Television, Joe Johnson. Orion Neighborhood Television, or ONTV for short, is a public access television station that produces content for the Lake Orion community. Joe has invited me to the studio today to get a tour of the facility and ask him some interesting questions about his career.
Hey, Joe, nice to meet you.
Hey, welcome, Austin. My home away from home.
Think you can show me around a little bit?
I'd be happy to. You want to go into the control room?
Yeah.
Follow me this way. And that is Tracy, our administrative assistant. She's the friendly face that greets everybody who comes in through the front door. And the control room's right here. Well, this is the control room. This is where the magic happens. We have the TriCaster 860 in here, updated to the latest version, and it does everything. We actually offer this in our training to beginners, and they really love it. It does titles and graphics, and it records internally on the computer. We can go live if we want to go live from the control room. This is where the director sits and make sure that everything goes smoothly.
Now, I see a lot of buttons here, and the little devil on my shoulder is telling me I gotta press one.
Don't touch the red button. No, actually you can touch any button you want.
All right, I'm going with this one. What? That was sweet.
All right, so just outside of the control room, we have an entire row of edit suites here that are made available to any of our volunteer producers if they need to put finishing touches on their program, any fine tuning. This is where it happens. Every station has a Dell computer with Adobe Premiere Pro on it, top of the line, state of the art, and our producers just love it. So they can make a reservation, edit for up to 3 hours, and if they don't finish their project, they can reserve more time.
Sweet, sounds pretty useful.
Right, and then right over here, I'll show you the studio.
Joe, a lot of this stuff looks almost brand new. How long has this place been here?
We're actually celebrating our 5th year anniversary of moving into this building. We actually had it constructed from the ground up, and we pulled our resources together with Orion Township, and so we share the building with Parks and Rec and the Senior Center.
What kind of productions do you do here in the studio?
Such a wide variety. I mean, mostly talk shows. We have a lot of talk shows. We have a couple of guys that come in and do a sports talk roundup sort of a thing. They talk Pistons, Tigers, Lions. We do some really wild out there stuff. We have a karaoke show we do once a month, and people come in and sing pretty bad karaoke, myself included.
I was gonna say, I think I'll pass on karaoke night.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun though, and it's one of our more popular programs. For the longest time, we had the MWO come in here. It was a group of wrestlers. You've heard of backyard wrestling? Well, these guys kind of perform here in this area, in the Flint area. They come in, they set up a ring, put on a 2-hour live show here in the studio. So just a wide variety. And then of course, I mentioned our newscast. We do a newscast every 2 weeks. We try to give local students some experience of anchoring a newscast. And that's, I would call that the jewel in the crown of ONTV. We're really proud of our newscast.
Now, with everything that you have going on in here, do you have any other productions that happen outside of the studio?
Well, we do have another room that we use. Occasionally we have people come in and they want to do a cooking show. So instead of setting up the cooking show here in the studio, we have a place that we do that.
Sweet, can we go check it out?
Yeah, let's go.
Right. So, Joe, where are we now?
Well, normally this is the staff break room, but it has a dual purpose. Whenever we have a producer that wants to do a cooking show, this is where it happens. We have functioning stove and sink and everything. So what we do is they'll come over here and they'll prepare a meal. They'll throw in some ingredients, mix some things up, and through the magic of television, we throw it in the oven, and out comes some delicious homemade chocolate chip.
Joe, you got the hookup, my man. Let's go stop. Go.
Coming up after the break, we go out in the field with Joe Johnson to film a ribbon cutting ceremony. And later I sit down with Joe to ask him some important questions about his career. When Visiting Professionals continues.
You're watching OUTV Channel 41. OUTV aims to provide informative and professional news packages covering what's happening on and around campus. Tune in each and every day to discover new things and learn more with our educational and engaging content. And if you're looking for highly entertaining and enjoyable programming, you're on the right channel. OUTV, Oakland University's premier cable channel.
Welcome back to Visiting Professionals. Today, I'm visiting with the ONTV studio manager, Joe Johnson. Before we sat down for an interview, I ventured out into the field to meet with Joe as he was filming a ribbon-cutting ceremony at White Pine Coffee.
You've probably heard of microbreweries, but have you ever heard of a micro roaster? White Pine Coffee has existed in Lake Orion for several years, but only recently celebrated their official grand opening. On the afternoon of Thursday, March 16th, representatives of the Orion Chamber of Commerce gathered at White Pine Coffee in Orion Township for an unusual ribbon-cutting ceremony.
To have the support of like-minded local people is very important to us. We support local businesses and we appreciate the support from them. So we're just thrilled to be part of the chamber and to have everybody here to help us launch this process.
Joe, thank you so much for having us down here at ONTV. I really appreciate it. First, I just kind of want to start off and get to know you a little bit better. Did you grow up from Michigan, or are you from around here?
Yeah, I grew up in Hamtramck. Great childhood growing up in Hamtramck. Graduated from Hamtramck High School and been in Michigan just about my whole life. I tried the California thing for about a year back in 1990. I really enjoyed it, but couldn't find work in video production. Came back to Michigan and been doing it ever since.
Missing the snow back here, I take it?
Not the snow. I miss friends and family, but I can do without the snow. I've been actually enjoying these mild winters we've had the past couple of years.
Yeah, they haven't been that bad lately. But I was just wondering, did you go to college here too as well, or did you do some college out in California?
Well, here's what's interesting. I did go attend college. I went to Macomb Community College for a number of years, but I got into video production in high school and started getting paid to do it when I was about 18 years old. And so when you're an 18-year-old making money doing what you love, I was like, I don't know if I need college. So I did take some college courses, acting, speech classes, writing classes, things like that, but I never did get a degree. I've been working in video production my entire life.
Now, how much would you say that your college really prepared you for your career in media and production?
Quite a bit. I learned a lot of skills from the college courses that I did take. Acting classes got me comfortable in front of a crowd. Writing classes obviously were a tremendous help in speech classes and things like that. Really prepared me for the career and gave me skills that I needed.
Joe, what was your first big break in media and production? I know you referred back to getting your first internship when you were 18. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'll never forget the moment that changed my life. Donna Learmont, who used to be the studio manager at a public access studio in Hamtramck where I grew up, she walked in through our yearbook class door and said, who would like to learn how to produce a high school news program? And we said, oh, that sounds fantastic. That sounds great. So the studio was just a couple blocks away from the high school. We walked there twice a week, learned everything there was to know about video production, and we started producing a high school news program. Well, I ended up writing it and shooting it and editing it and putting it all together. And so Donna noticed that and said, hey, we have a paid part-time internship if you're interested. And I said, yeah. So I'm still a student in high school getting paid to do this. It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And you know, here it is more than 30 years later, I'm still doing it. So that was the moment that changed my life.
Exactly, you just gotta wait for somebody to open the door for you, that's all it takes.
Yeah, I mean, you have to make things happen, but in this field, you've heard the expression, it's who you know. That really does help. If you make a good impression, people will remember that and give you an opportunity down the road.
Joe, how did this opportunity open up other career paths for you or other jobs in the future?
Well, being a high school student, getting paid to do this, it was a learning experience. I learned everything I needed to know to prepare me for a career in video production. And then Donna came up to me one day and said, "Hey, Joe, I saw this job posting for a position with the city of Sterling Heights. They have a beautiful video production department at City Hall." So I went and applied for that job and got it, and that was my first full-time job. Now I'm in my early 20s doing this full-time. So that part-time internship led to a full-time position elsewhere, and I've been doing it ever since. I worked for the city of Sterling Heights for a total of 6 years. Came out to Lake Orion, where we are now, around 1994. And was there for a number of years. I left for about 10 years. I worked for CMN TV in Troy, and part of that time my office was on the campus of Oakland University. And then I came back out here to Lake Orion, and I've been here 5 years now. So I've jumped around a little bit, but it's always been doing kind of the same thing, local access as they call it.
Now, how much of your skills were acquired on the job? I know you said that one day somebody just walked in and kind of just showed you the ropes a little bit, but how much of that was so much progress while you were there and working with them?
Well, you know, as a kid growing up, I always considered myself to be a creative kind of a kid. I loved drawing and doing stuff like that. And my mom and my family, we spent a lot of time at the movie theater watching movies, and I was always curious about how films were made. But I never really thought about that as a career until I was given that opportunity to come into the public access studio and work. While I was there, now I really got to learn what was behind the scenes, how to correctly frame somebody up and proper audio and lighting and all that stuff. So what I learned there was so valuable and helped me progress as a filmmaker, producer, director. I wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah, it changes the way you watch a movie when you finally actually learn everything that goes on behind the scenes and how it's all put together.
Oh, exactly, and I just eat that stuff up.
Now, how did your time at CMN prepare you for ONTV or other access cables prepare you for where you're at now?
The biggest thing I've gotten from all those different positions is working with people. That is huge because I don't know if you're familiar with what public access does, but basically we open our doors to the community and people come in. And you get people from all walks of life and all sorts of interesting characters. And so each one of those positions taught me to work with all different kinds of people, different skill levels, from children to senior citizens and everything in between. A big part of what I do is teach. It's not just production. I actually teach people how to do production the same way that Donna taught me how to make television. Now I teach people how to make television. And like I said, you just work with people from all different walks of life and learn how to deal with people.
How valuable would you say that networking and just being able to communicate with people and be in touch with people really help you in this career?
It's really important. And you know, you don't want to burn bridges. Every time you make a new contact, every time you go from job to job, you don't want to leave on a bad note. You don't want to burn bridges because you never know if someone from your past is going to help you out in your future. As a matter of fact, you know, I mentioned going to California for about a year. When I left the city of Sterling Heights, I said, hey, I'm going to go try the California thing. So I went away for about a year. That didn't quite work out like I had hoped. I came back to Michigan, and the people in Sterling Heights said, you have a job if you need it. So I went back to the city of Sterling Heights after being away for a year, and that's because I didn't burn bridges. I got along with everybody, left an impression, and they welcomed me back when I came back. So it really is important to make those contacts and try to leave a positive impression wherever you go.
Now, talking about the students and just the people in the community, how can they find out when they can come here and possibly even get to sit down and learn a thing or two from you?
Well, we teach classes here at ONTV every Monday night, And we do a total of 10 weeks of training. It's broken up into 2 5-week segments. The 10 weeks of training encompasses studio production, field production, portable equipment, and editing. We have Adobe Premiere Pro editors here. So they're going on every Monday. So we kick off with what's called an orientation. And so people come into orientation, they learn about what to expect here at ONTV as far as classes and what their future is here beyond the classes. And so orientation is sort of the launching point for that. And then if they complete the entire 10 weeks of training, then all of this is theirs to use. All of our equipment, our facilities, our editing, our studio is theirs to use for no additional fee. There's no rental fee or anything like that. Wow. So basically, if people want to find out about the classes, they can go to our website, ONTV.org. We have a Facebook page, Twitter account, YouTube channel, all that stuff. So people can always check in to see when the next class is going to start.
Wow, it sounds like you guys are just really involved with the community and everybody that's around you here.
Well, we are a nonprofit organization, and the way it works, sometimes when I explain this to people, they go, that sounds a little too good to be true. We're a nonprofit, and we're actually funded by Orion Township and the Village of Lake Orion. They get money from the cable companies, in this case Comcast and AT&T. It's called a franchise fee, and that money goes to the township and the village, and then they use that money to fund us. And so we make sure to repay them. We want to thank them. So we go out into the community, we cover all the local events and that sort of thing, and then we invite the community to come into our facility and use our facility. So it's a great relationship.
Yeah, it sounds like a win-win for everybody.
Exactly.
Coming up after the break, our interview concludes with Joe Johnson as I ask him even more important questions about his career. When Visiting Professionals continues. Welcome back to Visiting Professionals. Today, I'm visiting with the ONTV studio manager, Joe Johnson. Before our interview concludes, I was able to ask Joe exactly how the ONTV green screen works.
So, Joe, how does this green screen work?
It's pretty simple. Like if there's a location you've always wanted to visit, say Washington, D.C., we're in Washington, D.C.
I've always wanted to go to Washington, D.C. This is
Want to go to Mount Rushmore? We're in Mount Rushmore.
That's insane.
We can even send you to the moon. You want to go to the moon?
I don't know about the moon. What's the most important piece of advice that you think that you could really give to a student that's looking to go into this career?
I'll share some advice that somebody shared with me once. Somebody said to me once that a lot of people live their life 8 days a week, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and someday. A lot of people always say someday. Someday I'm going to make that film. Someday I'm going to write that novel. Someday I'm going to record that album or whatever. Stop saying someday. You have to do it. Successful writers write. Successful filmmakers are writing films and shooting films. Musicians are always performing and recording. You have to start doing it. And that's what we offer the community. Some people might not be able to put together that TV show because they don't have the resources. We give them the resources. You have no excuse not to come in here and use it.
Joe, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's honestly the best piece of advice that I've heard anyone ever say. There's so many people that get into this and they just always put it off. It's always someday.
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to get your hands on the equipment. I know people who got video cameras or home movie cameras when they were kids, and they're getting their friends together and they're shooting out in the backyard doing war movies or whatever. That's all they know. That's all they've done, and they succeed in this field.
Now, what would you say is the hardest part about this career, or something that a student coming into this career might not think about?
Well, for me personally, one of the most difficult things, mentioned earlier all the different personality types that I have to deal with. And sometimes that's the greatest part of the job, and sometimes that's the most frustrating part of the job, because you get people in here who might have different political beliefs or just different views on life and that sort of thing. And it makes my job pretty challenging sometimes to deal with all those different personality types. But learning how to deal with all these people, that makes me who I am. And people say the biggest compliment I get is people always say, you have a tremendous amount of patience. And I've learned that from dealing with kids to senior citizens and everything in between. You know, like we do a week-long kids video camp here at the studio. So imagine this space filled up with about 25 kids running around, screaming and yelling, and I'm trying to corral them and calm them down. That teaches you an infinite amount of patience.
Joe, here at ONTV, what does a typical day here usually look like for you?
Well, that's one of the things I love about my job is there's no such thing as a typical day. Every day is different. Either I'm running out into the community covering a ribbon cutting ceremony or a parade or a festival or something like that, or we might have a production here in the studio. Every day is different. One of the neat things that I've learned working in Access is, like I said, I talk about the different personality types that come in here. Well, a number of years ago at my previous job, I was approached by an organization called CLS, Community Living Services. And they said, we have a group of special needs people that want to go through your training. And I said, well, I don't have any experience with special needs people. And they said, you don't need to have any formal training or experience. They said, we're always looking for opportunities for special needs people. And we said, all right, we'll give it a shot. So we had a group of special needs people go through our training. And I had such a great time with them. It was just great. And so when the training came to an end, there were 3 guys in particular. One of them has Down syndrome. And they said, Joe, we love the classes. We want to be TV stars. What do we need to do? And I said, well, what are your interests? And one guy said, I want to be an investigative reporter with WDIV. And I said, well, slow down a little bit. I said, how about let's start off with a talk show? And they said, all right, that sounds good. So we started a talk show, gosh, a number of years ago, maybe 10 years ago. We call it Community Corner. The 3 guys ask the questions, and they bring in people who have touched their lives, people like teachers and trainers and employers and stuff like that. And they have done, we're on episode 108. They shoot every month. And their involvement here at the studio has changed their lives, and those guys have changed my lives. I've learned so much about people with special needs, and so that's been a really great perk of the job too, is working with people like that and learning from them. And so when I left my previous job and came back out here to Lake Orion, they said, could we follow you out to Lake Orion? And I said, yes, of course. So they moved out here, and they do their production here at this studio. But that's been a really tremendous experience.
Yeah, I feel like half the fun of production is just seeing the reaction of everybody and how it affects everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah, I touch a lot of lives. And, you know, I always think about that woman who walked in through the door and changed my life, and I try to remember that and try to touch other people's lives. You know, in addition to the volunteer producers we have in here, we have a lot of interns and stuff that come through from OU and Specs Howard and places like that, and I try to teach them all the proper habits of journalism and broadcasting and video production so that when they go out into the real world, they're prepared and they have an advantage.
How can a student go about getting an internship here at ONTV?
I believe the university has an intern coordinator out there. They could probably go through that person, or if they want to reach out to us directly, they can get a hold of us through the contact information on our website. But we're always open to new interns coming in. And the nice thing about an intern coming here to ONTV, they might not necessarily get paid for it, but what they get out of it is a demo reel. They get the hands-on, real-world experience, and so many people today, if not all of them, get that degree. So everyone comes out of college on the same playing field. They all have a degree. What a student needs is something to give them the edge, give them the advantage. And that thing is a demo reel. So if an intern can come here, go out, cover some news stories, or produce a program, or do commentary on high school sports or something like that, Now they can put together that demo reel that gives them the edge, so that when they do apply for a job, they can say, yeah, well, I have my degree, but I also have some experience at ONTV. And we've seen a lot of our interns move on to bigger and better things. It's unfortunate for us because we love having them here, and we get some really talented people through here. But it's always sad when we see them go on to the next level. But we're always cheering them on when they go into broadcast news or something like that. It's really exciting.
Joe, over time, as you've been in this industry and you've seen all the technology progress and the rise of social media, how much has all that played a part in everything that you do now today?
Oh, it's mind-boggling to see how technology has changed. When I was 18 years old and I got involved in that little TV studio in Hamtramck, we were recording on 3/4-inch videotape, and our portable camera was basically a camera on my left shoulder and a deck on my right shoulder that was connected by a cable. And the whole thing probably weighed 25, 30 pounds. And over time, I've seen cameras get smaller, but the quality get higher and the costs come down. And so I've really seen technology change. One of the biggest things would be editing. We used to edit from tape to tape, deck to deck. And now non-linear computer-based editing is mind-blowing. I just absolutely love editing. I used to find it tedious and time-consuming, and now I find it creative, and I really love editing now. So I've seen so much change. But one of the biggest changes that I've seen is how to get that message out to the world. Just as little as, gosh, maybe 15 years ago, if somebody produced a program at public access, it would air on local cable TV, pretty much to the boundaries of whatever city that center served. Now the world is watching. So when somebody produces a program here, not only does it air on local cable TV, but we also allow them to digitize it, upload it to YouTube, and share it with the world.
I have one last question here for you before we wrap things up. Is this the best job in the world?
It is, and I'm one of the lucky few who looks forward to getting out of bed every afternoon and coming into work and not knowing what to expect. I absolutely love it, and I always tell people, you know, you spend an awful lot of time at work, and if you're not happy there, that carries over into your daily life when you go home to your family. If you go into your job every day and look forward to it and laugh and love it and have a good time, that carries over into every other aspect of your life. So whether it's video production or music or art, if you love doing it, see if you can turn that into a career, pursue it as a career. You will not regret it.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you for having me out here today. I really thank you so much for
having
taking the time out of your busy day.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of Visiting Professionals. I'd like to give a special thanks to ONTV and Joe Johnson. Once again, I am Austin Slabough, signing off.